Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video I'll go over the Class 3P and give you a brief overview on this vehicle from my experience in it, as well as a recommendation of if you should purchase it or not. I'll make this review as quick and as dense with information as possible, and I will give you only what you need to know. That said, let's get into it. To start, this 8.7 BR vehicle is huge, gigantic, enormous, mammoth in size and proportions. It stands a full turret above most tanks. Most Leopard 1 tanks can fit within this tank, but that does not mean that the Class 3P is slow. Quite the opposite. For its enormous size and weight, coming at 41 tons for a wheeled vehicle, it accelerates very quickly and also reaches an 86 km/h top speed in realistic, which is about 20% greater than the M18 Hellcat, while weighing over 2 times as much. It also has good frontal turret armor, especially for a wheeled vehicle, though this thing is essentially a wheeled tank destroyer / scout, as it is listed as such. Its frontal turret is comprised of 122mm of spaced armor and 50mm of spaced armor around the sides. The hull is not as lucky, with just 67mm of spaced armor in the front, with just 22mm of armor on the sides and rear, leaving this vehicle to be exposed to even just HMGs if you're not careful. This is especially true when considering the size of this beast. If you're unlucky, you could end up being stuck in a cycle where an American tank decides to use his 50 cals against your engine just to torture you. To this point, its massive size creates other substantial issues and doesn't really provide many, if any, benefits aside from possibly being able to shoot over your allies more easily. The Class 3 size can and will cause you to either get stuck in narrow streets while trying to perform U-turns, or will force you to take longer detours, which could end up having you face enemies much more often. Now, this said, for how it plays, you can and will very easily get base captures in this vehicle. Unless you join a match late, this should pretty much be guaranteed in each match. The Class 3, along with the Radkampfwagen, are going to be the vanguard of any quick German TD lineup around 9.0. I could see this as being one of the most effective event lineups in game. One could almost view the Class 3 as being like a large, unrefined version of the Radkampfwagen, in that they essentially have the same cannon, the same ammunition choices, similar turret armor, high speed, etc. The thing that really separates these two, however, are their sizes, with the Class 3 being much larger and a much less sneaky target, which is a huge vulnerability, all while having lower speed. They do play similarly enough, however, where you'd be able to jump into the Class 3 and feel right at home if you use the Radkampfwagen. This said, the cannon on the Class 3P is excellent, with great accuracy, a stabilizer, of which is ridiculously useful, and several APF SDS ammo choices. This cannon, along with the Class 3's high speed, makes this vehicle into a surprisingly good and agile flanker that, even in cities, if you're careful enough, should allow you to get several kills in each match with ease. One of my favorites and thus far most effective tactics with this vehicle is to cap or start to cap a point, and when enemies come around, I dodge and duck out of their view and then pop up behind them to get a kill. This has happened numerous times with this vehicle, whereas such a tactic might not be quite as easy in a traditional tank with treads. The acceleration of the Class 3 really goes a long way towards getting away from enemies and then turning around on them. Overall, I'd say this is a great scout / TD vehicle that specializes in capping bases and, if you can forgive its size, eluding enemies. And now for its strengths. It has great crew / tank survivability. So even though this vehicle has light armor, the crew is actually fairly survivable, thanks to the size of the vehicle. This, however, might not last forever, as the Class 3P is easy to disable, and once this vehicle is stopped and in a bad spot, it may as well be dead in the water. Also, it has a great cannon with excellent ammo and accuracy, especially at 8.7 BR. It also has a great stabilizer, as mentioned before. Additionally, the Class 3 has very high top speed. Though this isn't the fastest wheeled vehicle in the game, it keeps up very well and has great acceleration. It is also large enough where obstacles that would likely hinder other wheeled vehicles don't really matter as much to this vehicle. It is also quite competent off-road despite having wheels. In addition to its speed, it has good agility. Now, despite its size, it can turn quite well and maintain control very easily. It has steering on all wheels, which helps greatly. Additionally, it has surprisingly good turret traverse speed even before you unlock the turret traverse speed upgrade. And finally, it has a single-use smoke grenade with 10 charges. You'll be able to target where you want with your smoke grenades, and you'll be able to use them one at a time, which I feel is a huge advantage over other vehicles that use numerous smoke grenades all at once. Plus, it doesn't really shoot all too far, so you know exactly where your grenades are going to be going. And now for the dreaded weaknesses. Despite having good frontal turret armor, the rest of this vehicle's armor is absolutely terrible, and it can be penned by most HMGs. Its wheels are also huge and extremely vulnerable to nearly everything in game, including MGs, artillery, crashing into things, etc. You'll be repairing them nearly every single match. The one saving grace is that sometimes you can get away with having one destroyed wheel and continue moving, just not quite as fast. Also, despite its awesome speed and scout/TD style of gameplay, it does not offer scouting as an option, being that, again, it is a TD and not a scout, even though it feels like a scout. Also, this has no HMG, and the LMGs are awkwardly placed relative to where they are on other vehicles. I've experienced a difficult time hitting nearly all airborne vehicles. Shooting ground vehicles is not an issue, but being that they're LMG, they're not really useful against most ground vehicles, and again, are mostly against airborne vehicles where you're going to have the most benefit. Also, it has a large, poorly armored engine area that will result in many fires, even from HMGs. As mentioned before, you can be stuck in a cycle where some guy could just be using HMGs on you and just kind of keep you there forever until you burn out. And finally, it is not a premium. Once you buy this vehicle, you need to unlock all the modules yourself, which can be exhausting, especially at a BR where night battles are fairly common and you do not have night vision right off the bat. So this all said, do I recommend the Class 3P? Yes, I do. It isn't for everyone, as people who like small, fast tanks may be annoyed by it, but if you can get past the size of the Class 3 battle bus, you'll be more than fine. It is one of the easier event vehicles to just get used to, all while sitting at a great point in the German tech tree at 8.7. As mentioned before, this may well end up being an absolutely necessary vehicle to own if you're looking to gain easy base captures during future events. The Class 3, along with the Radkampfwagen, the Geleitpanzer, and both TAM tanks, should make for an interesting, fast, hard-hitting vehicle lineup around 9.0 that should be very difficult to stop, especially for those oriented towards capturing bases and flanking enemies. The Class 3 is not without flaws, however. As I mentioned before, it is not a premium vehicle, nor will it be fully researched upon purchase. You will have to do all that dirty work yourself, and as anyone who has ever played around 9.0 BR knows, especially recently, it is not an easy grind. A good chunk of the matches that you'll be playing are night matches, which will nearly always lead to your inevitable early demise in-game. This said, I appreciate and enjoy the Class 3 more than I do many other vehicles that I've earned in events. Possibly even more than the MiG-21 PFM, and if you saw my review on that plane, you'd know that I actually like that vehicle for air arcade and, to a limited degree, air realistic. I certainly like it more than most YouTuber reviewers do. On a side note, however, I'd rate the Class 3 as being a better vehicle than the similar Aubel 74 HVG, even when considering the BR differences between these two vehicles. This said, I would only purchase the Class 3P under a few conditions, as follows. 1. If it is not insanely expensive. The 9.0 Leopard A1 L44 currently sits at $60 USD, but also comes with 2,000 Golden Eagles and 15 days of premium time. I value the Class 3P being that it is not a premium, nor does it come with any Golden Eagles or premium time, and the fact that you have to work to upgrade it at around $35 to $45 max. I know it'll be more expensive than that, but even with highballing it at $45, it may be worth it to those who have the need for speed. Again, it'll likely rise above $45 quite quickly, but once it gets to be around that point, I would check out other premium packs in the War Thunder store. For number 2, you'll feel like it'll complete your lineup. This is fairly straightforward. If you need a base capper or you would like to supplement your current lineup with a semi-unique tank destroyer, this is an excellent choice, especially if money is no issue. And number 3, you're a collector, again where money is no issue. Either way, the Class 3P is an actually very cool, very unique, and very useful vehicle that I feel like I will actually use, as it sits at a very strong BR for the Germans and makes an already strong lineup even stronger. This said, thanks so much for watching, everyone. It means the world to me. Please like and subscribe if you have not done so already. Either way, I'm signing out for the night, so please be excellent to each other, and I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.